So the Offertoire from the parish mass is probably the largest scale organ work of Couperin. And this is the point in the liturgy where the organ is not alternating with chant, but the organ has a chance to play a fairly long piece during this preparation of the gifts. In the Mass, there's a lot of ceremonial, there's incense, and so in the midst of this, the organ has a long opportunity to play. And so we have here a conventional genre where you'd use the grand jeu stops. You'd use your reeds, your cornets, you'd have a very brilliant, piercing kind of tone color here for these sort of majestic effects. And in most composers, what you find is a two-part offertory, where the first part is in duple and then it goes into triple in the second section, often using the same subject in a triple setting. But Couperin writes a three-part offertory. And so the first part, duple, in a French overture rhythm. The second part is contrapuntal, a trio, and then a quartet, very much in the style of the Italian Ricercar. And in fact, the subject that he uses is very similar to a Ricercar by Froberger. And so Couperin, already at this point in his career, having an eye towards this idea of combining the French and the Italian styles. And then after this more Italianate middle section, we have a concluding sort of fugal gigue, which is another classic French style to conclude the piece. Now, of course, in this liturgical context, when we see this triple, tripartite form, we immediately start to think in terms of Trinitarian symbolism. And this is something that for this piece is very suggestive, that of course the French overture, this is the topos of the king, this is God the Father. In the second section with this three-part and then four-part counterpoint, we have some very striking and jarring dissonances, which are extremely sort of radical and extremely expressively powerful compared to what you would expect to hear in this kind of piece. And so we're thinking now of perhaps the suffering of the Son who comes to earth and who dies. And then in this sort of concluding gigue, perhaps this is the dance of the Holy Spirit or the wind of the Spirit. And so it's possible to interpret it as this sort of symbolic Trinitarian gesture. And if that interpretation is true, you can think of that as a sort of precursor, of course, to Bach's great Trinitarian E-flat major prelude and fugue, where the three-sectioned idea is continued to have three flats, three fugue subjects, this sort of great exploration of Trinitarian dogma. But in any case, we have this really wonderful piece which, however you interpret the meanings of these three sections, really stands as one of the high points of all of French Baroque organ music.